Yeah, I would agree, but unfortunately, not to mention that it's just bad for you, it's health wise, and you don't even know today what you're getting with the fentanyl and everything else that's, getting laced into these drugs. You just don't know. And then one thing that you'd mentioned, you don't have to go to prison to have a bad story. You know what I mean? Whatever's the worst thing that you've been through is the worst thing that you've been through. You know what I mean? And not what I've been through. You can only measure it by what you've gone through. So I mean, some people hear my intro and they say the same thing, and it's like, nah, man, it doesn't matter. What was the worst thing that you went through is the worst thing you went through. There's no real, there's no, it's not a what do they call that? A contest. You know what I mean? It's, whatever it takes to get you there and to get you to stop doing what it is that you're doing, the behaviors that are debilitating to you and the people around you.
Yeah, and I think, Sean, it's important, for people to know that. Like, I knew I was addicted. It wasn't fun anymore. It was fun, for a year and two maybe. Then it sucked so bad, and the emotional, where it brought me emotionally and spiritually, it was just horrible. I had everything by the world standards. I had money, power, fame. I could gamble. I could, girlfriends, everything that you would want, and I was miserable. I
Hmm.
was empty and miserable, and the drugs were taking me down a path of total destruction and ruin. And yeah, I hadn't lost my health and my teeth. I wasn't doing meth, and I hadn't lost my job yet. And, I was able to hide it a little better, but it didn't matter. I mean, that was better for me that I wasn't out in the street and homeless. But
Hmm.
nonetheless, I was destroyed as a person spiritually. It was a horrible, horrible, way to live. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. There was once a sports handicapper called Jimmy the Greek Snyder, who was pretty famous in his day, and he said, "I wouldn't wish gambling on my worst enemy." And I feel the same way about addiction. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but you talked about today not knowing what you're getting. I have a 20-year-old son, and I tell him, you cannot take anything, you don't know.
Hmm.
You just can't, And when I went to college, my mother gave me a PDR. Most people won't know what that is. It's a physician's desk reference. You work in a
Hmm.
hospital. You better know what you're taking. I did know, and it didn't help me, but it is horrible with this fentanyl today, and the risk. You're literally playing Russian roulette. And there was an article in the other day. The FBI showed pictures of a fake Percocet and real Percocet, fake Adderall, real Adderall. You couldn't tell the difference. So
No.
they're printing, fake drugs that look like the real ones.
Also, too, they're using Snapchat to get the kids. They've got this. So Dr. Phil was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and
Right,
he was talking about this and how they went and they bought some through this because it's a delivery service and you can
right,
get anything, right?
anything.
And so they said that everything that they bought pretty much had fentanyl in it.
Oh,
And so he was saying that it's not, I mean, not only is it, I mean, because what business model do you have where you kill your clients,
mm,
right? And so they're dying at such an alarming rate that it's like, okay, this cannot be a business model. This is more like a terrorist model.
I have to believe that. I have to believe whether it's China or another country, China would be a logical candidate based on Russia. Somebody is out to get us and kill our children and our people. And addiction by itself will destroy your hopes, dreams, futures, life. One out of every eight people is addicted. And it doesn't just affect the addict, as you know, it affects the family members and so on. That was before, fentanyl. And now, and the ability and the access, like you talked about, to get it delivered, it's just mind-boggling. I mean, the technology and internet is a wonderful thing in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways, it's quickening the pace of our kid. I wore a Yankee hat and played baseball until I was 16 years old. So at least I had a childhood. I had
Yeah.
a real childhood. And then I started smoking, okay, but I had a childhood. These kids are 10, 11, 12 years old, and they're wasted. Their mind can't even process what's happening. And then we wonder, why 13, 14, and 15, it's just insanity. And meth, I have friends in South Dakota and Louisiana who I go out and speak on their behalf at ministries and treatment centers. And meth is destroying them. I mean, for us in Florida, it was opioids.
Hmm.
But, I mean, that was bad. We have Narcan. That's a bad thing. The Narcan's good. The opioids are bad. But meth, I mean, these people, it's unbelievable. They're walking down the street like zombies, want to kill people. I mean, it is destroying their lives. And their answer is to throw everybody in prison. So everybody is just in prison with their parents and grandparents. It's just a horrible, horrible, vicious cycle. You know it. You lived it.